Thank you so much to all the listeners who have supported the creation of this episode and this story so far. If you too would like to help me and keep me going to finish this story and start working on the next, check out lesbianromantic.com/support. You can support me there, right there on the website, or you can find a link to Patreon and discover what kind of perks I offer there. So, lesbianromantic.com/support. Welcome to the Lesbian Romantic Podcast. This is Worth the Risk, Part 21. I love you. Raven heard the birds first. She smiled and lazily rolled onto her side. Nathalie was still sleeping, her hair partly in front of her eyes. Raven bit down on her lip to hold back a moan. She wanted to run her thumb over Nathalie's cheek, but that would probably wake Nathalie up. They'd only fallen asleep 2 hours ago after an evening and a night of frantic lovemaking. The sun lit up the room through the gaps of the hastily shut curtains. The window was partly open, letting in the fresh morning air and the sounds of the early morning activity outside. Raven couldn't think of a more perfect moment than this one. Her body was tired, but the good kind of tired. The pillowcase and sheets smelled of spring flowers and sex. Nathalie's calm breathing made her feel sleepy too. Raven almost closed her eyes again to drift off, but she knew she might not get the chance to study Nathalie's sleeping face again. That's why she widened her eyes as she took in Nathalie's delicate features. Nathalie stirred then, whimpering softly before going back to sleeping peacefully. Raven reached for her now, tucking some of Nathalie's hair behind her ear tenderly. "You're in trouble," she thought to herself. "A shitload of trouble." She sighed as she kept her eyes on Nathalie. "How did I end up here?" she asked herself. "Head over heels with a woman I barely know and who lives across an ocean. Shit." Her sister Jasmine would have a field day over this, she knew, and it's not like Raven would be able to keep it from her. She had avoided telling Jasmine what was going on for the last 2 days, but she didn't think she could manage much longer. Raven was too much in love to keep hiding it. She wanted to tell the whole world about this breathtaking woman she had met. She wanted to take a picture of Nathalie while she was sleeping and use it as her wallpaper. "Oh, fuck," she whispered. "Again?" Nathalie chuckled sleepily. Raven's eyes snapped to hers, grinning. Hey. Nathalie said slowly, arching her back as she stretched her arms above her head. The sheet slid down, revealing her breasts. "Good morning." Raven wrapped her arm around Nathalie's waist and pulled her closer. "Good morning," she replied, kissing Nathalie's lips. Nathalie groaned as Raven's thigh slid between her legs. You feel so damn good," she croaked. "So do you," Raven said, resting her forehead against Nathalie's. "I can't get enough of you." Nathalie stroked Raven's side. "Good." Raven let out a low chuckle before kissing Nathalie again. It was a lazy, slow kiss. Still, Raven's heart rate picked up. Nathalie cupped Raven's cheek, their tongues exploring and teasing just for the sake of exploring and teasing. Nathalie rolled her hips, pressing into Raven's thigh. Raven gasped as she felt Nathalie's arousal on her skin. Her hands slid to Nathalie's hips, and her own hips followed the slow rhythm Nathalie was setting. Their bodies moved together as if they had been lovers for years. Nathalie's hand caressed the back of Raven's head. She deepened their kiss, her tongue eagerly exploring Raven's mouth. Raven groaned. She dug her nails into Nathalie's skin as their movements intensified. Nathalie moved her hand to Raven's breast and moaned. Raven did too. It amazed her how easily Nathalie could make her lose her mind, over and over again. When Nathalie's hand slowly slid over Raven's belly, down to her thighs, Raven buried her face in Nathalie's neck and held her breath. Nathalie's warm fingers slid through her wetness, caressing. Raven pressed into the touch, whimpering. Nathalie's mouth was right by her ear. Her breathing was fast and ragged. Raven rolled her hips as Nathalie's fingers stroked up and down. They groaned together as their movements became more intense. Ugh, Raven gasped as she felt herself getting closer to the edge. Nathalie met Raven's gaze. Raven's eyelids fluttered as she felt the heat build up all over her body, but she tried to keep her eyes open as long as she could. "You're so sexy," Nathalie whispered, kissing her again. Raven whimpered, rolling her hips against Nathalie's hand faster and faster. She felt Nathalie's other hand on her back, keeping her close. Raven's fingers were in Nathalie's hair as they moaned in each other's mouths. The orgasm came slowly, making Raven throw her head back as she waited to finally fall over the edge. Nathalie raked her teeth over her neck, panting, "Yes, yes," as she kept stroking just the way Raven liked it. Raven came with a loud moan. Her eyes squinted shut as she felt wave after wave of pleasure wash over her. Her whole body trembled as she disappeared into her own world, barely registering the soft kisses Nathalie was placing all over her neck. Shit, she gasped as she snapped back into reality, collapsing against Nathalie. Nathalie grinned up at her. Raven chuckled and kissed her. "Oh, damn," she panted. "Damn, indeed," Nathalie said, stroking Raven's back, her other hand still between Raven's thighs. Raven shut her eyes for a moment as she tried to catch her breath. Her mind was still spinning, her feelings for Nathalie making her heart scream in her chest. Much to her horror, her eyes even teared up. She kept them shut. "What's wrong?" Nathalie asked softly, her thumb stroking over the crease between Raven's eyebrows. Raven shook her head, smiling a little. It's nothing." Nathalie placed a kiss where Raven's frown had been. "Are you sure?" Nodding, Raven opened her eyes, having pushed back the tears. "I'm sure." "Okay," Nathalie replied, sounding unconvinced. She kissed the corner of Raven's mouth. Raven was relieved that Nathalie seemed to let it go. "So, what's the plan for today?" she asked, before realizing this was hardly a safe or appropriate topic. Nathalie might have to leave for work soon. Had Raven just reminded her and prematurely ended their time together? And what would Raven do today? She wished she could just stay here in bed. Nathalie yawned, covering her mouth a second too late. "I want to stay in bed all day with you," she said as if she had read Raven's mind. Raven nodded in excitement. "But I guess I should go to the office for a bit," Nathalie continued, wrinkling her nose. Raven tried not to pout. She nodded again, slower this time. "I can be back in 2 hours, though," Nathalie said, kissing the tip of Raven's nose. "I forgot to take the day off yesterday because I rushed out to find you. It won't take me long." Raven bit her lower lip. "Does that mean we can spend some more time together today?" she asked shyly. Nathalie kissed her tenderly. "If that is what you want, yes." "Of course it's what I want," Raven huffed, then chuckled. She shook her head in disbelief. "What?" Nathalie asked. Raven averted her gaze and sighed. "Nothing. It's just..." Nathalie kissed the tip of her nose again. "Yes?" Pursing her lips, Raven took a moment to think. How to express to Nathalie what she was feeling right now without overdoing it. They had only known each other for a few days. It's, intense, Raven finally said, remembering the words Nathalie had used yesterday. Nathalie propped herself up on an elbow and looked at Raven. She let out a slow breath before saying, "Should we talk about it?" Raven's brow furrowed. "Talk about what?" she asked, rolling onto her back. "Us, I guess," Nathalie replied, running her hand through her hair. Raven's throat tightened. "Oh," was all she could manage to say. Her heartbeat was drumming in her ears again. Nathalie sounded less sure when she continued. "What all of this is? Or could be?" Raven cleared her throat. "Or not," Nathalie said, also rolling onto her back. "I guess we don't have to talk about it." Raven really did want to tell Nathalie how she felt about her. She wanted it so badly. She just couldn't bring herself to say it out loud. Her throat was so tight it hurt. At the same time, her heart was screaming in her chest again. Nathalie sighed, sat up, and swung her legs out of bed. "I better go find us some breakfast and start getting ready for the office." Raven swallowed hard. Her lips parted slowly. She wondered if she should just throw out the 3 words that were playing in her mind repeatedly. Nathalie got up and gave her a shy smile. "You can stay here if you want." Raven's eyes snapped to hers. "Here?" "Yes," Nathalie nodded. "At my place. Unless you'd rather go back to the hotel?" "No," Raven said quickly. "I'd love to stay here if you don't mind." "I don't mind at all," Nathalie replied, her smile reaching her eyes again. "Thank you," Raven said, pushing herself up on her elbows. She saw Nathalie's eyes focus on her chest. Nathalie bit her lip. "God, you're so sexy," she said. Raven took in a deep breath, aware of her nipples hardening under Nathalie's gaze. "I'll be waiting for you to come back," Raven said softly. Nathalie flicked her tongue over her lips. "I'll be back as soon as I can. Believe me." "Good," Raven said, arching her back. "I think I'm going to nap while you are gone. You made me very tired." Nathalie chuckled and knelt down on the bed. "When do I get to nap?" she asked as she leaned over to kiss Raven. Raven hummed as she cupped the back of Nathalie's head. "I don't know." Nathalie's hands slid over her belly and hips as they kissed. It didn't take long before she was back under the sheets with Raven. Raven marveled at the sounds of anticipation that escaped from Nathalie's mouth as she slowly made her way down to Nathalie's thighs. "God, I love you," she thought as she flicked her tongue where she knew Nathalie wanted it most.
This was part 21 of Worth the Risk. Again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart to everyone who helped make this episode possible. Oh, did you notice I kind of left out the not safe for work stamp? I thought it would be fun to kind of surprise you with those scenes in this story. Hope you don't mind. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart. Deep bottom of my heart to everyone who supports my work. I was able to create this episode because of you, and I am able to start working on part 22 soon after my vacation because of you. So thank you. Yes, I am going on a vacation, a much needed one, I have to admit. Maybe you hear it. I have a cold just in time for my vacation. But I'll be back on October 12th on this channel with the next episode. And if you want to get your hands on it a few days early, don't forget to check the website. It should be there around October 9th, a Saturday. That's when I usually release the next episode, a couple of days early on the website. So I'll be back soon. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Thank you for listening, and thank you for supporting me.